Welcome to Crime and Wine. I'm Pamela Fagan Hutchins, your host, and this is the show where I talk with other crime fiction writers about the stories of thrills and suspense that will leave you mystified, sometimes horrified, and always wanting more. Please join me in welcoming today's special guest.
Well, hello out there, everybody. This is Pamela Fagan Hutchins, and I'm coming to you from Bakersfield, California, where I guess I sort of live for the next few months. My first show from here. Apologize in advance for any technological problems. But I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited about today's guest, one of my fellow Bookature authors. This is Danielle Stewart, and she has a book released like literally today. So I want you to all join me in welcoming Danielle as we talk about her book, The Girl at the Party, and lots more. Welcome to this party, Danielle.
Thank you, Pamela. I appreciate it so much. This is probably the best part about writing is being able to sit with people and talk about it.
Isn't it? It's like people really care that I wrote a book and what it's about. And it's like living the dream, right?
Always a little shocking. Like I'm like 40 books in, and it still is shocking every time that I get to have these cool conversations.
I love it. I love it. Well, one of the cool things about this show is that people are commenting live as we go, and I'll share a few of them along the way. So we have Sue Stanton saying hello. And if Sue's Stanton, if any of these are your buddies, feel free to shout them out. Sherry Brown says hello, and Sue says, yay, Danielle. And Sherry, welcome, ladies.
A
So
lot of familiar faces. That's great.
it is great, isn't it? Well, today is the release date. Is this your first standalone psychological thriller?
It is. It is. I write a lot of series, and this was so liberating to be able to tie it up at the end and not have to project out 6 books and to just really throw all the meat into this standalone. So it was awesome that way.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I've always done series myself, and there does seem to be something really cool about just saying, I'm done with you. You know, you can all die.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So tell us about the book, if you could, for those that haven't read it.
Yes, that's torture. Summarizing your own work is like the hardest. It's harder than writing the book is writing the blurb on the back. But so essentially it is podcast based, meaning there is some true crime involved in it, and a group of friends rely on the technology surrounding a podcast to work through a crime that they were involved in, a murder that they knew the person. And so now with true crime and podcasts being all the rage, they see that as a path to maybe finally make some progress on the case.
Very cool. So is it true crime podcasts that gave you the idea for the book, or how did it come about?
Probably my worry for all of my female friends and how we are now just basically our downtime is spent listening to true crime as relaxation. I literally have been like out for a jog listening to a podcast about like a jogger that is like murdered, and I'm like, why would I do this to myself?
That's really pretty funny.
But so it was more just trying to get an understanding of and really leaning into the idea that why is this relaxing, and why are so many of my friends kind of relaxing to this, and also just how much some of those true crime podcasts are changing how we look at cold cases and solving some of them, and I think that's fascinating.
So what did you learn about yourself and the relaxation, I'm going to use big air quotes here, factor of this as you were going, if anything?
Yeah. I think it's like the but for the grace of God go I feeling of like, maybe it's some perspective on tough days where you're like, well, I'm not chopped up in a freezer, right? So so I forgot to get gas last night and I got to deal with it this morning, but like it could be worse, I guess. I think it's a little bit of that, and I also think it is, we want these cases to be solved. You get heavily invested in it. You get this transparency to like holes in the system and things that, you know, are broken that need to get fixed. And so I think you get that front row seat to really trying to understand how these cases can be solved by just some, you know, cutting some of the red tape and just looking into them. So I find it fascinating from all different angles. But it definitely, I don't know if you experience the same thing, but it does seem like that is a pastime now that a lot of my peers and friends are diving into.
Yeah, I have found that, and I'll admit it's not something I do mainly because I overcommit on books to write, and I find myself thinking, if I had time, I'm going to do this. But and I guess the other difference is every time I'm listening to something, it's a book for this show. It's like
Sure.
I'm somehow converting it to audio to listen. So it's like fictional crime, but it's a similar feeling, right? I listen to murder for relaxation. You're listening to real murder. I'm listening to fake murder. And I have to give a shout out here that the podcast, and I'll put this in the liner notes so you guys can go and take a look at it. It was picked as this Crime and Wine was picked as one of the top 20 crime fiction podcasts to listen to. Best
That's
out there, I guess.
incredible.
Whatever.
Congratulations.
Woo-hoo. So I'll
That's
give you more
awesome.
information that in the notes, but it's that same thing, right? People are tuning in when we're talking about chopping up people and putting them in the freezer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's someone should definitely look into it, of why it is just a full-on pastime now.
And it's interesting when you started writing, what was the first genre you tackled?
Yeah, I was in the romantic suspense world. I really enjoyed that kind of light romance connection with a you know, twisty kind of plot. Whereas psychological thriller, what's very liberating about it is you can have some unlikable characters. You can
Right.
have some darkness. You don't have to redeem everyone. It can be a little messier. Whereas with romantic suspense, you know, you really are trying to make sure that the characters are lovable, honestly,
Mhm.
and your bad guys are bad and your good guys are good. And in a psychological thriller, what's been such a cool experience is no one's all good and no one is all bad. And
Right.
I enjoyed that gray area quite a bit.
Yeah, you do get kind of hemmed in by the tropes and the different things that are expected. You can do an unreliable narrator, you can do, you know, a completely hideous and unlikable victim, you know,
Yeah.
things that you just can't get away with elsewhere. So I love seeing you have this kind of fun. It's fantastic. Do you think you're going to do more psychological thrillers? Will you go back to series work? What do you think your next move will be?
So I've got another book coming out. It's a standalone as well. It's called The Teacher. It's a psychological thriller. The cover reveal was today, so it has been a busy day. But I love this genre. I think I've always read it. I think that's really what it was. So I was writing romantic suspense and really do love it. And then some women's fiction with you know, a little bit more layered emotion, and I love that as well. But when I'm reading these days, I've kind of become okay with it not all working out in the end, or not all working out the way I thought it was going to work out, or the way I would expect with a trope. And so writing it, I have really found a passion for that side of it too. I was able to really explore different facets of my own personality, and people in my life, and do it in a much deeper way, which I loved.
So you guys out there, tell us if you read psychological suspense or if you listen to true crime podcasts. I'd love to hear as you're commenting, because as those that are watching the video version of this have seen, there have been a lot of comments coming in. Now, what I really today wanted to talk to you about most of all, though, was whales.
No. Listen, my theory is proving true. I've been afraid of whales for 25 years. And now, if you watch the news in the last like 6 months, they're
The
eating
whales.
boats
They're
and
eating boats. Yeah.
smushing people. I've been talking about this for years, and I was alone.
I'm a little obsessed with the killer whales that are eating the boats myself.
I have never been ahead of the curve or like ahead of the trend. And now I finally feel like I've been trying to warn people. I mean, I came by the fear, honestly. We went to the Omni Theater when I was like 7, and that's the like immersive, like, and it was the whale one, and then that was it. They were jumping over, but I've been warning people, and everyone laughed until now.
Yeah,
They're turning on
smart.
us.
They're smart boogers. So will we see whales in your books? A psychological
I
thriller with
mean,
a whale killer, or
maybe now that it's on trend. Before this,
it's really a thing now.
I know no one I had ever met shared the same fear. And I guess it's not a bad fear to have because I don't spend a lot of time in the ocean. So statistically, I'm probably safe. But still, even just the noise, just even when they're on TV,
Wow. Well, you
oh
think
my
of
God.
Moby Dick. I mean, what was
Yeah,
that? It was a whale attacking a boat,
that's
right?
right.
And
Right.
so, we've
I
known
might
better.
go this route.
Yeah. We've known better, and yet we keep going out there on
Yep.
boats. And oh goodness, well, this brings us to the part of the show where I like to call it the speed round, and I
Oh boy.
asks my guest, I asks, man, I am okay. So
Moving.
yeah, moving for those that follow me. We're getting a lot of people today that, in addition to my readers, that are people that follow Danielle. But for those of you that know me well, I just spent 8 days in a car with 4 dogs, having car trouble, trying to get from Maine to Southern California or Central
Oh,
California. My brain is exploding. Anyway, we're getting to the speed round, folks.
okay.
Say that 5 times fast, Pamela. And I ask virtually the same questions of all my guests, and it rewards those of you that follow the show
Oh,
so that you
I
can
know the
see.
questions.
I do give them a chance to read them ahead of time.
I watched the episode so that I
Oh,
am
very
ready.
nice.
Because I win, right? Is there a winner? That's what I'm hoping for. Like a winner.
Competitive much there, Danielle. I don't know. Maybe I'll give you a glass of this lovely sangria as you can see
Cheers.
me in
The
California.
sangria would
Yeah,
be great.
it'd be
Some
great.
nice bread.
Well, and I might throw a few curveballs for you
Okay.
in these
Okay.
questions based upon what
Challenge
I learned
accepted.
in your bio. So we'll start with bottled wine or box wine.
Bottled wine. I all wine, depending on the situation. But I do have a few bottles that I enjoy regularly. Or
That are your favorites, your go-tos that you go
yeah,
back to.
yeah,
Do you like to do like wine tastings or vacations or things like that?
I do. You know, I am one of those people that love a glass with dinner, but I always go back to my favorites. Like I will definitely try other wines, but I just have a few that they're reliable and they're perfect and they pair with everything. So I go back to a bottle of Camus or Meiomi or something like that, and just they do the trick.
Well, there is that whole thing, has a cork, came from a grape.
Yep.
It's a good thing. It's a good
Yep.
combination. Do you have a particular writing outfit that you write in?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've seen it. It's that wearable blanket, not the Snuggie, not the old school Snuggie. This is the hood,
Yeah.
full blanket down to the ankles. My husband says it looks like Grimace. You remember Grimace from
Yes, I
McDonald's? Like,
do.
yeah,
Yes, I
looks
do.
a lot like that. And it will be very warm out. And my husband was like, "How can you have that on?" And I said, this is a feeling. This is not an outfit. This is like my essence right now is this wearable blanket. So temperature doesn't matter,
That's
but cozy. That's how I write.
cozy and sweaty. Cozy and
Yeah,
sweaty.
that's right. He's always like, "How can you have that
I'm
on?" I'm
getting
like,
a
"This is
sexy
a
vibe. I'm
yeah,
getting
this is a vibe. This is not yeah, absolutely."
I love it. I love it. All right. So it's happy. No, no, wait. Well, I'm going to ask. It's happy hour. Is it wine?
Yeah, usually it is wine. I will definitely have a beer if we're at a brewery or a margarita or, whatever the specialty drink is. I like a Moscow Mule sometimes too.
You and my
Nice Moscow.
husband would
Yeah, a
drink well
nice
together.
Moscow Mule. Yep.
Yeah, he's very much a mule man. Okay, you have a theme song. You must
Mhm.
have a theme song for this next question. What is
Okay.
it?
I'm really into Noah Kahn, who I feel like no one is going to know, but he's like a folk singer that's really popular right now. And it is not exaggerating to say that I wrote The Girl at the Party entirely with that playlist on loop. He sings Stick Season right now. It's really popular, but like beginning to end, if I was writing for 4 hours, I just looped that for 4 hours. It was probably unhealthy, but
Do you normally do a playlist for each book you write, or you just kind of have something you're stuck on and it
I
just
have
is?
something I'm stuck on, and
Yeah.
it seems to shape a little bit of the essence of the book, and I just love that.
Yeah, yeah, I do the same thing, and to me, music is a language to me as much as writing is, and I love that. So, do we look for drops about musicians or songs or ways in which they're woven into your books? Is that something we should be trying to spy, or is it more subtle than that,
I think
Danielle?
it's subconscious. I think it's really just like that whole album is very subdued. It's kind of a love letter to New England. It's very, um, emotional and kinda gritty, and that's where I was at with this book, and so it ended up being perfect.
Awesome, I love that. Okay, you win the lottery. Yay!
Ooh.
You win the lottery. Okay, first 5 things you buy when you win the lottery or
Oh
do with
my
the money.
goodness. I have such a big family, and we are from a very small area, so I think I would literally just make it rain money on everybody up there because everyone works so hard, and it's cold, and it's hot, and it's New England, and there's so I think that's what I would do. We would get a house somewhere, maybe a compound, because I would wanna live all together. So maybe a
Yeah.
compound for my entire family where we could all have space, but common areas.
Yes. And do you have so you said big family? You're from a big
Yes.
family? And do you live far from them now?
Now I do, yes.
Oh, that
I
must be
do. So my
hard.
compound it is hard, but it kind of makes our houses destinations, which is nice too. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of meat in the middle. There's a lot of our house, their house, and I think there's something kind of special about if you're getting a week together and you're living together for that week, it's really like immersive and rather than just kind of popping in on each other, living
right,
close by.
right. And can you pick up eggs on your way over and
Yeah, it's like you're in there
yeah,
for a week or 10 days, and I love that.
quality time. Um,
Yes.
so with the next place you travel to,
Mhm.
will that be something family related, or do you have some other grand travel or favorite place you like to go?
Ooh. So, probably just because of how sometimes you go on a trip and the stars align, like, my son had a blast, and it was, like, the least stressful vacation. We went to San Diego, and, like, it was the weather was just, like, miraculously the same every day and perfect and not too hot, not too cold. And then in addition to that, like, my son just loves to like climb and be on things. And every day we'd like, do you want to go to Disney? Do you want to go to Legoland? And he wanted to go to like this park. There's like a park outdoor playground. He was like, I want to go back to that playground. And it was just the simplest, best vacation. The food was incredible. We saw a baseball game and it just, so I would go back to San Diego. If I could plan something
That's
tomorrow, that's where I would go.
That's pretty cool. Well, if you do that, you'll have to stop by
Yes.
Bakersfield, which I'm currently calling Baker's Hell because it's gonna be 115 degrees
I,
by
I don't know how
Sunday.
to
I think that counts as hell?
Yes, yes, that rises to the threshold of
It does, it does.
where's the AC.
Well, I hope that this book is just the start of a psychological thriller bent of success for you,
Thank you. Me
following up
too.
with The Teacher and killing it.
I'm really excited. I appreciate it. This is like I said, this is the best part. It's being able to chat about it and talk books, and I love it.
Well, thank you, everyone that's out there and has been interacting with us. And your comments have been coming so fast. I've tried to put everybody's on the screen. You guys are awesome. Danielle, you're awesome. Thanks for coming on the show. And I hope I can catch you on here again some other time.
Thank you for having me, Pamela.
Absolutely. We'll catch you next time. And you guys, thanks a ton for making this all possible. I want to be sure that I go through the obligatory things that I'm required to do as a part of this show. The first of which, not required, but I should have told you, Danielle Stewart's website, author daniellestewart.com, where you can find ways to pick up all of her books. But be sure and go out to your favorite retailer. Amazon always works for The Girl at the Party. If you want to watch past shows, catch upcoming shows, or find information about the books the authors have that were on my shows, you can go to my website, where you can also find my newest releases, Bighorn and Sitting Dunk. And you can read my books free in Kindle Unlimited or in all formats everywhere else. Crime and Wine is copyrighted and solely owned by authors on the Air Global Radio Network. All hail Pam Stack, Uber producer. Go out there and read you a good book this week. Why don't you guys? And I will see you next time.
Thanks for joining us today on Crime and Wine, chats with crime fiction authors and Pamela Fagan Hutchins. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll check back in with us next time for more thrills, suspense, and stories that will mystify, sometimes horrify, and always leave you wanting more.